Good evening. Once again, we're back for Saturday, and got a lot of Arctic air spilling down out of Canada. What you see outside right here, this is polar air that's been kind of recycled. The winds are starting to come around to the north, so we're just now starting to see the leading edge of the Arctic air spilling south at this time. So here's what things look like on the maps. Kind of a big change between the Rockies and the central U.S. Here's the central U.S. right here, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. The temperatures there in the teens and low 20s. And then you go into the Rockies where you expect it to be kind of cold. And we've got 30s, 40s, and I saw temperatures in this area here almost up to 60 degrees today. And in fact, when I went to look at Cheyenne about 4 o'clock, they were looking at about 53 here, and it was -4 up in northeastern Wyoming. So pretty spectacular change there. And a lot of this is due to the very shallow character of the western edge. So let's take a look here. We've got Colorado Springs right there. Actually, that's Pueblo. 11, then 17 at Colorado Springs, 18 at Denver, and then 25 here at Trinidad. And then you go west a little bit, and let's see, we've got 53 right there at Buena Vista, and 46 up in this region right here. So we can pretty much place the front. Looks like just north of Raton, right along the front range. And you can see that it has a very mesoscale character to it. And then we bring that up into the Great Falls area. And if you're down there on I-40, you can see that the front is stretching through eastern New Mexico. So you go from 43 at Albuquerque, temperatures coming down from the 50s earlier this afternoon. And then you get out here on the high plains, 22, and then dropping as you get into Oklahoma there. Okay, the west coast right now looking pretty quiet. We've got temperatures in the 40s and 50s, and we've got the appearance of some fog and haze in the San Joaquin Valley there. But otherwise, pretty quiet, and the Santa Anas are pretty much shut down. Pressure's up in northern Nevada, about 10-18 millibars, contrasted with 10-16 millibars, which is not very much of a pressure contrast. We want to see something like maybe, I'm trying to remember the rule of thumb, but I think maybe 15 millibars between North Nevada and the coast, and that's your good Santa Ana conditions. So a bit of a respite there, although it is kind of dry. There's the Pacific Northwest. We don't have the Canadian data in yet, but we've got north winds coming out of British Columbia there. Temperatures falling to about, let's see, 39 at Seattle, 39 to 43 in that area there. And I'm not sure if I can place a front through there or not. The conditions in northern Nevada, they do look pretty mild, 46 there. So at first glance, maybe a bit of a weak Pacific front coming south, just like that right there. So we'll kind of watch for that on the charts. And then, of course, the Arctic front is stretched down like that. And let's see if we can go a little bit further east. Okay, so here comes the central and eastern U.S. And there, okay, we're going to have to bring down that crowding a bit. Okay, that's a little bit better there. And you can see just how cold it is in the Great Lakes area. We've got -8 there at Minneapolis, about 19 up in the Grand Forks area. And the coldest temperature that I'm finding at this time looks like about -26, just east of Grand Forks and Fargo. And I saw temperatures down in the -30s up in up in the prairie provinces of Canada up here. Let me see if I can bring up that current data here. Okay, Canadian data is in and showing a definite cold axis in western Ontario up in this region, minus 26, extending all the way down into northern Minnesota like that. So that's pretty much where some of the heaviest cold areas, and then a little bit more out in this region here. So very cold pattern in central Canada. And then going south, we can pick up the leading edge of that front. And it looks like that's coming into Pennsylvania kind of as we expected. And across the Appalachians, we've got the stronger northwest component there, pushing the front through. And then to the east, kind of a stagnant pattern there. Temperatures around 30 to 35. And let's see if we can follow that into Texas. It's pretty well blended a bit with the air out ahead of it. So I think what we've had is a bit of a surge at 850 millibars, and that's kind of mixed down to the surface a bit. So let's see here. Yeah, I would put that in there through northern Alabama, maybe right through the Shreveport area, then maybe arcing a little bit like this into West Texas. And out ahead of that, you can see the temperatures here around 50 to 60 from San Antonio to Del Rio. Okay, so that's the big picture there. So let's head out to the other charts and look at the radar. Not much going on there, maybe a bit of snow shower activity from Des Moines up to around Sioux Falls. The thickness analysis looking like this right here, showing the big, very extensive Arctic air all the way up to the Arctic ice pack in Alaska and all the way down to the eastern U.S. And so this looks like the edge of the new surge of Arctic air coming south, and then we're picking up probably a little bit of that Pacific air, probably a little bit further south than what we had on the other chart. So maybe from about Winnemucca back to about Medford. And there's what the potential temperature map looks like, showing a very strong boundary there in western Montana. And that extends all the way down into Colorado, and this gradient is kind of blurred a bit. It's kind of smeared, so you do have to go back to your surface charts. So our front is actually going to fall kind of in the center, not necessarily out on the warm side. And again, that's just because of that artifact of the gradient kind of smearing like you see right there. But the pattern does kind of clue you in exactly where the front is. And we can pick up the other side of it here in Tennessee. That's the leading edge of that strong gradient extending down into Texas. I guess we probably have cleared College Station and maybe even San Antonio, and then extending north like that. Okay, yeah, we can check out the mesoscale charts. There's what things look like earlier today, and you can see that Arctic air just kind of packed up against the northern Rockies. So quite a change driving from east to west there. And you can kind of see as we animate this how the cold air kind of seeps through the passes a little bit. Then it looks like maybe it retreats a little bit there towards Monday and Tuesday. Okay. Not much going on in the southwestern U.S. There's the animation. Looks like kind of mild conditions there. In fact, if you go to the Sierra Nevadas there, temperatures in the 30s up in the mountains. So, yeah, that's very warm. During the winter, cold temperatures in the mountains, we'd be talking about teens and 20s for the Sierra Nevadas. And then during the daytime, temperatures coming up near 60 across much of California there. Okay, for Texas, here we go. This will show the cold air moving southward during the day. Starting out this morning, there's the leading edge right there from northern Arkansas down to Oklahoma City. And you can see the much colder temperatures, the purple here, indicating single digits Fahrenheit. And then the green here, about 45 degrees, and we can watch that push southward. A little bit of a retreat with that daytime heating there. Maybe a little bit of ridging taking effect, and then we get a little bit of a push overnight, and there it comes. It's got a very oscillating appearance there. And yeah, that looks like the main surge right there. Let me run this back and forth. It's kind of like watching the beach, watching the waves coming in and out right there. So let's see here. Let me go back and forth, and yeah, it looks like the main push into Texas is going to be tomorrow evening from roughly about 3 p.m. to about 8 or 9 o'clock. So winds will be coming up out of the north, and things will get a little bit cooler. So we'll go from daytime highs around, let's see here, 30s, and then down into the 20s at night there. And very cold temperatures up there with 3 degrees at Wichita and 9 in Oklahoma City, and locally colder out in the rural areas. Here's the Midwest area. Of course, the main thrust of the cold air going that way. And it's only being slowed down a bit by air mass modification. So instead of having minus 20s in this area, we've got temperatures around 0. And holding steady during the day tomorrow. And then for Sunday, still single digits, maybe a little bit of a warm-up up to about 10 degrees. But still quite a bit of cold air up to the northwest there. And then we pick up some minus 5 to minus 10 degree temperatures on Monday morning. And then a look down in Florida. So, yeah, they're going to get a little bit of this weather too. 1050 to 1060 millibar high up in Canada. That's definitely going to make it down to Florida. So let's check that out. This is the start earlier today. Okay, this is this evening. Here comes the new surge. You can see the gradient right there in eastern Arkansas. And then overnight, the cold air coming into Atlanta and Birmingham and Tupelo. And it will really pick up some ground there around, let's see here, Monday. So Monday's when it's really going to start filtering in. We don't have a very good push of cold air. What we would need to really kick this air southeastward, is northwesterly flow. And I think with this kind of cold air mass, if we had a good northwesterly flow, we would see temperatures probably in the teens and 20s during the daytime in this area right here. So it's really air mass modification that's eating things up, and by the time the cold air comes southward on Monday, there's already been a lot of modification there. So let's see here, Florida. This is going to be Sunday night. So coming into Jacksonville and Gainesville and Apalachicola. And then during the day, Monday, let's see here, by morning it's going to be approaching Tampa, a little bit of a baroclinic low right there north of Tampa, and then the rest of it coming through Florida. Looks like later on the day, Monday. And 53 right there, or 33 at Jacksonville. And that's about as far as we can go there, but yeah, very gusty winds from Fort Myers, Tampa, and up to Vero Beach there. Okay, so here's our satellite image for this evening. Boy, we can definitely pick out the cold air there. Anywhere where it's green or yellow and doesn't have kind of a very, granular texture, that's going to be the cold air. So anywhere from here all the way up northward, that's all the cold air. And we can really see the leading edge here. See right there from New Jersey off the coast there, all the way down through the Appalachians, the Blue Ridge Mountains, and especially right here. There's the leading edge of the front, and looks like that extends kind of like this right here. And then on top of that, we've got some higher level clouds moving across. And if we have enough lift with that, that can trigger some snow showers and probably sleet in this kind of air mass. Either sleet or snow showers, one of the two. It's probably much too cold for rain. All right, let me take a look at the chat and see what's going on. Probably a lot of cold people this afternoon. Got Megan John, Minnesota, I'm sure, yeah, in the deep freeze there. Adam Davis, weather station reading 8.4 degrees there, light snow off and on. Fun with Tech joining us, and Ryan Toomeys. Ryan says the chill has hit South Florida, lower 40s with that first cold surge, and expected to be colder New Year's Eve. So yeah, kind of a gradual cool down there, and then even colder for late Monday and Tuesday. Megan John reporting -8 there. Jason Boggs in the Texas Panhandle, going to be stuck in the low to mid 20s. Long Johns and hot coffee, yeah. Megan John has been getting wind chills of -40 to minus 50. Bill Johnson up in Milwaukee, -3 with a -14 wind chill. Carl Berghoff also joining us. Mr. Manlet looking for a cold day. Yeah, right in the Illinois right there. Right in the crosshairs of that cold air coming southeastward. Kevin McKinney joining us, and Jason Boggs reporting 18 at Pampa. Brett Dean, 20 degrees, flurries there. Sue M reporting 6 degrees in southern Indiana. Wind chill advisory. -2 where Mr. Manlet is. Burl H, -4 with a -20 wind chill. 100 knot winds down to 13,000 feet with the 12Z Davenport sounding. Sue M gets to wear her warmest sweaters, coats, and hats like when she lived in Russia. What do the blues and greens on the temperature map, or red and blues on the temperature map, mean? Let me go back and take a look. I guess we're referring to this. That's just going to be potential temperatures that are above freezing and below freezing. So when we reduce the temperatures down to sea level, anywhere where it's red, it's going to be above freezing, and blue is below freezing. So pretty straightforward. Okay, I guess we can check out the water vapor imagery there. Andrew Hoffman reporting greetings from Waxahachie, Texas, side of the old Super Collider. Kind of a crazy story from the 90s there. Lexi Pinkson Walsh joining us, and Carl Berghoff says remember to like. U.S. Icebox, 57 degrees where Ryan is. Chicago a bit chilly where John Booma is. Tree Nelson, 10 degrees in Wyoming. Alexei, 40 degrees in Bell County, Texas, where Temple is. Andrew Hoffman, 37 degrees in Waxahachie. And Brett Dean, referring to the first map. Okay, yeah, if you're talking about the first map, this right here, yeah, the blue and red, that just differentiates the 540 decameter thickness line. So anywhere where it's blue, that indicates that precipitation forms are likely to be frozen. And then red is going to be where precipitation forms will favor liquid. So like freezing rain and rain. But that's just a very general guideline, and you really have to look at the soundings to know for sure, especially when you have shallow portions of the air mass like in the high plains. Okay, let's see here. This will be kind of a quick one, but I'll go ahead and give you the soundings. Just a matter of finding them. Okay, here we go. So we're going to take a look at either side of this front that's coming south. We're going to go and check out Corpus Christi to the south and Fort Worth to the north. So here's Corpus Christi. So, yeah, there is a frontal inversion right there, topping out at about 5,000 feet MSL. 850 millibars, that's about 5,000 feet. And kind of a very light south flow in the cold sector. And you can see saturated conditions up to about 3,000 to 4,000 feet. And then we go north, we'll go up to Fort Worth. And much colder cold sector, topping out at about 6,000 feet. And a north push in the cold sector there, kind of northeast. Winds are not quite as strong as I expected there at Dallas-Fort Worth, but definitely a lot of cold air there. And let's check out Little Rock. They should be north of that boundary. So we're looking at about 7,000 feet of depth. There's the cold air, the coldest part of the cold air, up at about 3,000 to 4,000 feet. And only about 10 knots with that cold push. So no wonder it's not coming south very fast. You remember those mesoscale charts I was showing you, how the cold air was kind of like sloshing back and forth. Not much of a cold push, and that's going to allow it to modify before it hits the Gulf of Mexico. Let's check out the core of the polar air up in International Falls, Minnesota. And yeah, we're way over to the left there. Very cold column and stronger northwest flow in that area. So if we go to Minneapolis and check that out, very cold. And you can see more of a push behind that cold air in that region. There's Davenport. There we go, 20 to 30 knots up there at about 5,000 to 8,000 feet. And that'll definitely carry the cold air southward in that region. So yeah, we are very cold. Temperatures running about 15 Celsius degrees below normal up in this region here. And we're actually running about 7 to 8 degrees Celsius above normal in the Four Corners area. And we can actually use this to kind of find the fronts. So you can kind of use that as a general guideline where the leading edge of the Arctic area is, but more importantly, the subtle boundaries like the Pacific air out in this region here. This shows up pretty well. So it's going to be somewhere in that area where we have the Pacific air pushing southward. So that's another tool you can use there. Temperature anomaly. That right there. And Pivotal Weather does offer the temperature anomaly product. So let's go ahead and check out the forecast. I guess we'll take a quick look at the upper air conditions. There's the 200 millibar analysis. And then rolling this forward, looks like we got one little weak trough coming into South Texas. Subtropical jet is active out in the Gulf of Mexico. And all I'm seeing here is a ridge out to the west. Amplification of the pattern during the week next week. Jet really gets going around Wednesday in the southwest. And just continued northwesterly flow throughout much of the eastern half of the U.S. And then we go zonal around next weekend. Okay, so that'll probably put an end to some of that cold air there. So bringing that forward, There's our high pressure coming down, a big 1050 millibar high. So that's going to push southeastward. So here's the cold air coming south. There's the area of maximum cold air advection. And it looks like it is spilling across some of the Rocky Mountains right there. Kind of a backdoor front through Idaho. And then the Pacific front probably down in this area right here. Okay, so for tomorrow night, there's tomorrow night. Looks like a little bit of a wave there in Georgia, but most of the front should be offshore. Front pushing into the Big Bend area of Texas and into the Rio Grande of New Mexico. And the high itself starts to slip out of Kansas or Canada. And then for Monday, here comes the high into Iowa and Nebraska. So we're looking at about 1048 millibars. Again, this is late Monday. So a lot of the cold air advection moving offshore, coming into Florida. And looks pretty quiet for Texas. I don't see any very strong waves moving across that dome there. So then for Tuesday, we're looking like this. Now we see some very significant modification of the air mass. The central pressure drops to 1036 millibars, and we find that over the Ohio Valley. And looks a little bit stormy there for the Miami area. And then we should see things start to moderate a little bit in this area. And looks like one additional cold surge coming out of Canada right there on Wednesday. And that'll take a track mostly towards the Great Lakes. A little bit of storm system forming in the Gulf Stream around Wednesday and Thursday. There it goes offshore. Looks a little bit stronger than the previous run had, enough to get a little bit of snow going there in New England and New York City area. And then another high pressure area comes south. This looks a little bit weaker. And then we see pressures drop in the Canadian high prairies there. So we go down to 1010 millibars. And when that happens, we usually see warm conditions there. So that'll probably put an end to the cold weather. So going into next weekend, here's what the pattern looks like. Still looks cold in the eastern U.S. Lots of cold air coming into this area right here. But the Gulf is starting to open up there. So a little bit of warm air and moisture working its way northward. Gulf still open, so I guess we're going to be pretty warm in Texas by the 7th and 8th. Starting to look a little stormy in Southern California. That's for the 8th, and then that system crosses the Rockies. And looks like another surge of cold air comes south. You can see the central pressure is only about 1040 millibars. So you can actually look at that pressure there and kind of get an idea how strong the outbreak is. 1040, that's not particularly strong. So we're looking at probably slightly below average. Trying to think of a good adjective for this. I would say definitely frigid weather, but not record-breaking like what we have right now. But plenty of cold air advection coming south on the 9th and 10th. And here comes that wave crossing the southern Rockies and now interacting with that cold dome. So a chance of showers and winter weather in Oklahoma and North Texas on the 9th and 10th. And then things move eastward towards Georgia and the Carolinas. And then we start seeing things start to warm up. And after that, looks pretty quiet. Maybe one little outbreak coming south. But that's getting towards the super long range there. So that's around the 14th. Okay, that's about all I have for today. I appreciate you watching the webcast. And hopefully we will see you tomorrow. Take care.